everybody, welcome to Pyramid Knits. My name is Liz. I am a knitter and a natural dyer based outside of Taos, New Mexico in the southwestern United States. This is my craft cast where I talk about knitting, natural dyeing, spinning, sometimes gardening, sometimes animals visit. Yeah, it's generally a nice time. So welcome. I am coming to you today from my back porch. It's really nice outside today. It's actually a little bit humid, which I'm not used to. I live in the high desert in the southwestern US, and it's normally very, very arid. It has been very, very dry lately. And we've had a lot of wildfires in the mountains, which is not great. But the monsoons are here, finally. It rained so many times yesterday. It rained last night. It rained the night before. Oh, it's so nice. And it's really cooled down quite a bit. It's, I don't know, probably like 72 degrees and a little humid outside, and I'm like a little warm because I'm just not used to humidity. Anyway, I decided to come sit outside since it's nice and pretty, and yes, it's summer, so we should be outside. So I have not chatted with you guys for a while. The last time that I podcasted, I was just about to go on a trip to the UK and Iceland. I have gone on that trip. I have gotten home. I've been home for about a month now. And I am finally getting around to sitting down to podcast. I needed some real decompression time there. So yeah, today I have acquisitions, y'all. If you're not into ogling at people's acquisitions, this might not be the episode for you. Because I bought some yarn on that trip. I bought some yarn. I have a lot of spinning, because when I got back from my trip, which was amazing and wonderful and like exceeded all of my expectations, and I came home and got news that was bad in like that far extreme in the bad direction. One of those, I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable. It was one of those like, oh, my life's never going to be the same kind of things. So I immediately was like, my God, thank goodness I have fiber arts. And I immediately started spinning because I was like, okay, I'm going to be like depressed and anxious. I'm just going to have to get through this. And I started spinning, and I spun so much, y'all. So much. So I have a lot of spinning to share. I also went and did a natural dye demo at an art gallery here in Taos last weekend. There was a guy there, Scott Sutton. He is Pigment Hunter on Instagram if you want to check him out. He makes natural paints and pigments from earth minerals and plants. And he was teaching a workshop on making natural paints and invited some other natural color artists from the area to come and just kind of set up out in the courtyard and just kind of do our thing and be there to add color and interest, and you know, people can ask you questions and see what you're doing. So that was super fun, and I dyed a lot of stuff, a lot of colors when I was there. Yeah, it was like maximum color, not maximum quantity. So I have a ton of natural dyes that I can share with you. So yeah, this might be a long one. I'm gonna try not to ramble too much and just, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll take a break and do a part 1 and 2 on this one or something. We'll have an intermission and I'll post the second one next week or something, maybe. That's entirely possible. Okay, let's get into it. I have one FO, and I knit this for my trip to Scotland. This is my Scottish hiking vest that is covered in hair. Awesome. I went to Scotland to hike the West Highland Way, and it was springtime in Scotland, so I was like, I need something that's going to be like functional and warm and lightweight. So I made this vest. The pattern is sleeveless. It is by Norwegian designer, I think. It's Lone Kjertsen or something. And the yarn is from Green Mountain Spinnery. It is their Lana base in the color Olivera. And it is a woolen spun fingering weight. So this is really nice and lightweight. It's quite warm because it is woolen spun and it's all ribbed. So yeah, I wore this so much, so much when I was over there. It was just the perfect thing to throw over anything that I wore. It's such a nice neutral color. It just matches everything. I still have not washed this from my trip, but you know, I mean, wool is amazing. It just smells like wool. Yeah, I'm super happy with this knit. I actually didn't finish it. There is an edging that goes around the armholes. These are just raw edges here. And I did change the pattern a little bit. It's supposed to be just like a rolled stockinette edge on the neck and on the armholes. But once I finished the body, I kind of saw how wide the neckline was, and I wanted to bring it in a little bit. I didn't want it to be quite so wide. I was actually finishing this in my hotel in Glasgow before I went and hit the trail. So it was very, very last minute. I had finished knitting the body before I left and blocked it, but the neckline I did have to pick up whenever I was already over there. And so I knit the neckline in the hotel in Glasgow, and I just said, you know what? I don't need to bother with these right now. If I want to add, you know, some finishing on the armholes later, I can do that. But right now I just need to go and hike. So yes, my Scottish hiking vest. Very happy with it. I think it's going to be, I mean, it's such a functional garment. It's just so functional, you know? And it's funny, I'm looking at it now. I can see when I was hiking with my backpack, the strap, it's like felted right there. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's felted through from the friction in that spot. Well, there you go. Well used. Oh, look, we're having a dog come visit. Hi, Satya. Do you want to hop up and say hi? Hop up. Come here. Oh, he's not going to hop up. Oh, Satya. You can probably hear him breathing. Oh my God, I'm sweating too. Like, I just can't handle humidity anymore. Oh, yeah, but before I get started, just quickly, what I'm wearing. This is a little summer knit top that I made a few years back. The pattern is Cullum by Isabel Kramer. And the yarn I used is from Knit Picks. It's their Cotton base. It's cotton linen DK. Yeah, the pattern was written for fingering weight. I ended up using DK because I wanted it to be not quite so see-through, even though you can totally see my bronze red. And I don't really wear this that often, I think because it's cotton and linen and I just haven't worn it enough. Because I have another cotton linen top that I knit that I had the same issue with, and it took like years until I finally wore it and washed it a few times, and then I was like, oh, I love this top. So I think I just need to throw this, like run it through the washing machine twice and get it to soften up a little bit. Like, it just drives me crazy, these little ears on the sleeve where the seam comes together. It's just, I used a thicker yarn, so it just sticks out more. So yeah, I should probably just wash this a couple times and see if it makes it better. Anyway, chronologically, let's go on a trip. So I left here in Taos and I went first to Washington, D.C. To see a friend of mine from college. And we had a great time. We did the whole tourist thing. She showed me all the stuff. And I made her go to a yarn shop. We went to it was called Loop in Washington, D.C. Or Looped. Loop or Looped? Because there's also Loop in London, but there's Loop in DC because they talk about the DC Loop all the time. Anyway, super cute little shop. I picked up a skein of sock yarn, which is just too much fun. It's all crumpled up because it's gone through my suitcase in like several countries. Oh, Looped Yarn Works, that's what it's called. And this is from Junk Yarn, which they just had all of these awesome, crazy, ridiculous colors, which I love for socks. Yeah, so this is a 2-ply 80/20 merino nylon, 400 yards. The colorway name, Astronaut Barbie. I love it. So I'm really excited to cast on some socks for these. Got to get some souvenir yarn, right? So this is a fun one. I'm sorry if you can hear that. One of my dogs is just like literally tearing into a sagebrush. Oh, he might be going after a mole. He's like digging a hole now. That's fine. If he catches the mole, that would be ideal because the mole keeps eating stuff in my garden. Anyway, I hope you can't hear him like digging and gnawing on wood. So, first acquisition, Astronaut Barbie sock yarn from Washington, D.C. So I was in D.C. for a few days and then proceeded on, oh, I forgot a work in progress. I keep forgetting about it. I was knitting my friend who I stayed with in DC. I was knitting her a pair of fingerless mitts, which I of course didn't cast on until the day I left. So I was knitting on them while I was there and I did not finish them. So it was as a thank you for letting me, you know, crash at her place. And I just totally like invited myself. She didn't invite me, I invited myself. So it's like, I need to knit you something. Oh, animals. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I need to finish those up this summer and I'll send them off to her before the fall. I think I might have showed those on my last episode. I think I just cast them on or something. Anyway, whatever. So I stayed in DC for a couple of days and then I carried on to Glasgow. And I tooled around Glasgow for a few days. And oh, I know, I'm like, oh, I'm missing one. I'm missing one. I went to the local yarn shop in Glasgow, which is called the Yarn Cake. And I got another skein of sock yarn. I failed to ask the people to wind it up for me, so I had to wind it into a ball in my hotel after the fact. And this is, oh, am I gonna remember? Dystopic Fibers, I think is what the name of the dyer. I will put it down here. And the colorway of this, I think, was Twigs and Beetles. And it's this nice, you know, speckly browns and neutrals. And I am knitting socks. I have one sock done. I just cast on this other sock the other day. So I cast these on when I started hiking on the trail. The first night in the tent, I cast on these socks. I didn't finish them until I got home. So yeah, just real quickly, this is Drea Renee Knits Everyday Socks, the DRK Everyday Socks. I did modify. I knit the heel per pattern, which is a Flegel heel, I believe. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way that it fit my foot. It was weird. I usually do a short row heel, and it was just such a pain to do the increases. I'm such a baby when it comes to doing small, small needle increases. So I was like, I don't want to have to do that on the other sock too, because that was just annoying and it doesn't fit well. So I ripped the heel back and I just did a short row heel the way I normally do. And I kept the 2x2 ribbing going all the way through the heel. And I ripped back, but you can see I still have a couple of the gusset increases. in here. So I just need to remember on the other sock to still give myself a few increases before I do the short row heel, because this fits really well right now. Yeah, so I've gotten one sock done. These are now my Zoom socks now that I'm back and I'm back at work. But yes, Glasgow souvenir yarn and memories of being very, very tired and very, very sweaty in my tent. So also while I was in Glasgow, I picked up, oh, there goes dogs. I picked up another skein of sock yarn because, so this time I reached out to a dyer who I follow on Instagram, whose colors I really love. And I was always like, oh, I'll never be able to have them because she's like based in Scotland and shipping and all of that. So I just sent her a message and I was like, hey, is there any place in town I can pick up your yarn? Like any shops or anything? And she's like, no, but you know, if you're like around this area, I could, you know, just meet you. And I was like, oh my God, that's like exactly where I'm staying. So I went and I bought some yarn on the street corner from Charlotte of Nervous Fibers. So that was super cool that I got to go and meet her. And look at this sock set. It's just so good. I mean, it's like all of my colors. Kind of like after I bought it, I was like, I definitely have knit socks in like orange and turquoise already, but you can't have too many. So good. So I'm very excited about casting this on as well. Excuse me. Yeah, this is a 75-25 merino nylon and the colorway is Nautilus. So thank you, Charlotte. It was so fun to meet you too for like just a second. So after I was in Glasgow for a couple of days, I head off on the trail. And it's so humid. It's so humid. Like even, it rained every night. It started raining during the days when I was hiking too. Even all of the Scottish people I met were like, this is not normal. Like it's really like excessively rainy. And if a Scottish person's telling you that, like, yeah. So that was a bit unfortunate. Yeah, I ended up dealing a lot with blisters, lots of blisters, because I just couldn't keep my feet dry. I was sweating. I went through all of my socks. I had all these wool socks. I went through them in like 2 days. And it was so humid and it would rain at night, so I couldn't get anything to dry out. And it was just raining and raining. And the forecast for the rest of the week was rainier and rainier. So I hit a point. I was hiking along Loch Lomond, absolutely exhausted. My feet hurt with every step. I made it to a bothy, which was amazing. And I stayed there for the night, which was great because it really poured down rain that night. So I stayed nice and dry and cozy. I had bothy mates and we did make a fire, which was lovely. I was able to hang up some of my stuff and dry things out a little bit. And the next day I decided I am just going to take a short day. I'm going to hike to this next campground that I had planned to get to, and I'm going to reassess my options. So I hiked just a few miles the next day to get to this campground. And my body was just so exhausted. My feet hurt with every step. The sun was starting to come out, which was promising. I got to the campground. It was so nice and sunny. I was like, perfect. I can just set up my stuff and get it dried out. Of course, later that night, it rained. And so the next morning, it was like, okay, I'm calling it, because it was just constantly raining. Again, I was just, every step is painful. I'm just now starting to get into the Highlands. Like I haven't even gotten to the Highlands. And I'm already just like, oh my God. Yeah. So I hit a point where I said, okay, I'm calling it. This trip is not about hurting myself. This trip is about taking care of myself. And I'm going to take care of myself now by walking down to that train station and getting on a train and going to Oban. And that is what I did. So we took a little detour. Well, I took a little detour. You know, the royal we took a detour. And yeah, popped down, took the train over to Oban, which is on the coast. And sure enough, there was the sun. I had some great seafood. I got to hang out with the locals. It was fucking amazing. Love Oban. Just like the most ridiculously charming town. So I get there. I check into my hotel. I have this amazing like bay view from the top floor of this old stone hotel. Which is just like everything just starts being perfect, right? I walk out my hotel after I drop my stuff. I walk out of the hotel. I'm like, okay, let's explore Oban. The first thing I see across the street, yarn shop. I was like, oh my God, I did the right thing. I came to the right place. So I went into the yarn shop, and also there were like fabric shops with just bolts and bolts of Harris tweed. Like, oh my God, it's amazing. Amazing. Okay, gonna be crinkles. So I walk across the street, I go into this yarn shop. I'm like, okay. I'm looking at things. It's a lot of like drops. They had a lot of like baby acrylic stuff. I'm like, oh, like this is not speaking to me. And then I found the shelf that just said Shetland wool. And it was like £2.50 a ball. I was like, okay, I'm like, these are not the colors I would have picked. These were the only colors they had. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy a sweater quantity. Somehow I'm going to make a sweater from this. I'll figure it out. So I bought enough for like a yoked sweater. So I bought enough of the main color for this, main body out of this color. And I got two of these blue and one of the green because they only had one of the green. And yeah, I paid for it and it was like £25 for like a whole sweater. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I love you, Scotland. This is so amazing. And it's just, yeah, it was just labeled as Shetland wool. I don't know. So I picked out a pattern for this. I'm going to do the Porty pullover from Gudrun Johnson, which I think is appropriate because she is a Shetlander herself. And I can use my Shetland yarn. So that was my super amazing Oban find. Oh, I also got some really cute tweed covered buttons in Oban, but they're inside. And a really sweet little watercolor. So good. Anyway. Yeah, so after I spent the weekend at Oban and just had a fabulous time, I headed on back to the train and went up to Fort William, which is the end of the West Highland Way, where I had a hotel room booked and I had my suitcase being shipped to meet me. So I went to go and meet my suitcase in Fort William. I got there, it immediately started raining. I woke up the next morning in the hotel and it was just like dumping rain outside, just dumping rain. And I did not have a train leaving until the evening. So I had all day to spend in Fort William in the rain. So I got to spend the day in Fort William, get a little soggy. I did spend a lot of this trip just ducking in and out of pubs. It's like, well, it's raining. Stop in for a pint. Yeah, so I spent the day in Fort William and then I got on the night train to London. And oh my God, y'all. I thought it was going to be like sleeping on a plane. I'm like, oh, a train will be super easy. Oh my God, it was so hard to sleep. I was wrecked by the time I got to London, which was like 7 a.m. and I just arrived in central London. It's like, oh my God. There were definitely some travel ordeals where it's like, just get through it. Just get through it. But always kept a good attitude. Anyway, so that I was in London. I was in London for a few days. I went museuming. I went museuming in Glasgow too, which was amazing. Great museums. I met up with another podcaster, which was super fun. And we ducked into pubs and had pints because it was raining. And then we went to Loop together, which is the famous London yarn shop, which was a lot smaller than I imagined it to be. I don't know, somehow I thought it was going to be like this really big store. It was actually quite tiny. Anyway, I got another sweater quantity of yarn while I was there. It was also like so hot in this little shop, and it was raining outside, and it was humid, and we had our masks on, and like we were both like just visibly sweating, and I was like, I have to decide on yarn like fast. Like I cannot dilly-dally in here because I will pass out. But thankfully I saw this and I said, oh, that's it. That's the one. So this is Yarnadelic by John Arvin. It is 100% Falklands Corriedale sport weight. Heavy 4-ply, made in the UK. Oh, they're based in Devon. Excellent. I've heard about John Arvin. I have never used their yarn before. I have seen, I think it was Fruity Knitting. Andrea did a sweater using the Yarnadelic line, which is just so pretty. It's just all of these colors blended together. I love, love, love these heathered colors. And this one is called Nobody Knows. And all of their colorways were like based on old, 60s psychedelia songs. I don't think I have picked out a pattern for this one yet. It's probably just going to be like a simple sport weight raglan because this color is just so pretty. So pretty. Yeah, if there's anything in the patterning, like a super simple detail, like on the raglan or something, or I don't know. But I really just like want this yarn to shine. Oh, God. So good. Let's go outside. Dogs are gone inside. So, you always think you're going to knit so much on these trips. You go on vacation and you pack all of these projects and then you end up not working on anything. I made it through like half of that sock. And then I also have these Oktoberfest socks that I've been working on for forever. And I have now finally finished the first sock. The first one. I still have another sock to go. All I have to do is kitchener the toe. So yeah, I did manage to work on this a little bit. I was already probably like here before I went on my trip. So I knit from here to here on the trip. And then just the last few rows of the cabling and the toe I've knit since I've been home. So yeah, the entirety of my knitting while I was traveling is like toe up to here and from here to here. And that was 3 weeks. Not the crazy knitting that I anticipated. I was always on the move. I was always going somewhere and doing something. Anyway. Yes, so London, I bought yarn at Loop, which is fantastic. I think that's the only yarn shop I went to in London. It is. I also went to go see the Book of Mormon, which was amazing. I also managed to snag a skein of Heather and Hops Shire. This is a yarn that, Kat and her husband, Alex of Heather and Hops, sourced and had spun. It's very local to them. It's 50% Valley Blacknose and 50% Jacob, and it is beautiful. I have decided, I think this is going to be my extra contrasting color to go with my Shetland pullover. That's going to work its way into this because they're both they're both actually quite similar 2-plies. So I think that they'll fit together really well. And I'm sure I'll have leftover, and I mean, you know, I can also dye it. Well, we'll see how much I have left over and what it turns into one day. But I'm super, super happy to have been able to snag one of these. I remember whenever Kat first had these spun, and I was like, oh my God, but it's in the UK, like shipping, all those things. But I was there and I got some. Oh, so exciting. So exciting. Thank you, Kat. So, is that everything from London? I think so. So after London, I went to Iceland. Y'all, Iceland's great. Reykjavik, fucking amazing. Love it. Loved it. And somehow I managed to only buy Plutalopi. But I bought a lot of it. I bought so much of it. Oh my God. Oh my God, you guys. Okay. I'm getting excited. So when I was in Iceland, I went on a couple of guided tours. I hope this isn't too loud. I'm trying to gently open this bag and not rip it open, but I might have to rip it open. I'm just gonna rip it open. I went on a tour of the Golden Circle, which is like, you know, your standard tour. You hit all the good things. You hit the waterfall, you hit the geyser, you hit the hot springs, and you hit a wool market. What? I saw that on the tour listing that it goes to a wool market. I was like, sold. I'm doing that one. So we get to the wool market, and it's just a little tiny like family farm, and their wool market is like a room in their barn, in like the office space of their barn. And they had a little shop set up in there. It was mostly already knitted garments, and it seemed like the woman who owned the place had knit the garments herself, or most of them herself. And she had one little shelf with the unspun plates. So this isn't like Iztek's Plutalopi. It's Plutalopi style, but it's from her flock. And I was just like, holy fuck, like I'm buying all of it. So I got really excited about buying the yarn, and she started showing me some of the sweaters, and she was like, oh, I knit this one holding it double. I knit this one holding it single. So I'm like, oh my God, she knit all of this stuff too. So again, there weren't that many colors to choose from. So I just kind of had to get what I could get. So there was a lot of black. So I decided, well, I like to wear black, but I never knit in black. So it's a sweater quantity plus some. I think I got 5. I got 5 plates of this slightly heathered black, which is just gorgeous. So that'll be enough for like the body of 1 or 2 sweaters probably. And then I got a couple of contrasting colors, because again, she didn't have much to choose from. But I loved this orange. I mean, that's just like the orange. So nice and heathered. And then this red, I was like, okay. Because it's got all of these other colors spun into it. You can see little bits of blue and yellow and white. There's just so much. And orange. There's so much depth to these colors. It's amazing. So yeah, that is, oh, it smells good too. Oh, it smells so sheepy. Oh, Iceland. So yeah, these are gonna turn into some sweaters and some cardigans and who knows what else. But I'm very excited to dig into these. Very, very special yarn from that tiny little wool market. I don't even know what the name of it is. I was trying to find it. I'll look it up like through the tour company, because I tried to find it like on a map and I couldn't find it. And I will put put it down here, the place that I actually went to. Like, it was so small that it wasn't even open. Like, the tour bus pulled up and the woman came out of her house and like over to the barn and unlocked the store. And we got to go through and like see all of the sheep and all the little baby lambs. I was like, oh my God, I'm buying your yarn. I'm buying your yarn. So exciting. Yeah, so that was part of Iceland. The other part of Iceland, I went to the Hand Knitters Society of Iceland and got this great bag. Hand Knitting Association of Iceland. There we go. Because of course they have that, because it's Iceland and they're amazing. So I went there and they had all the Aztec stuff. They had Plutalopi, they had Blutlopi, they had the other one that starts with an A. Oh, whatever. Anyway, and so I was like, you shouldn't buy more Plutalopi, like you should get something else. But I've also seen like the spun Lopi yarns in the US before. So I was like, well, I've never seen the Pluto, I don't know. Anyway, so I was debating, but I walked in and I saw this color. Look at this. It didn't say the colorway name, but since I bought this, I have started knitting with it. I've posted a couple of pictures of working with it. I've had several people reach out to me and say, oh, is that the Galaxy colorway? I'm like, I think it is, because that's what I thought it looked like. It's like, it's knitting with the cosmos. It's wild. It's so pretty. So yeah, they also had a sign that was, you could buy Plutalopi like by the kilo, and it was, you know, however much per kilo, which amounted to like 10 skeins or 10 plates. So I bought 10. I got 5 of these and I started knitting with it. I decided to cast on a Felix pullover with the Plutalopi in Galaxy. Check it out, you guys. Oh my gosh. I am holding it double for this. You can see the raglan increases along here maybe. I don't know how well it's showing up with the black yarn, you know. But there's just so much going on in this. It's wild. Wild, wild. Yeah, loving it. It does feel quite scratchy. I mean, it is Icelandic. So yeah, we'll see how I fare. Hopefully it's not too scratchy for me because I bought a shit ton of it. Yeah, so I've been working away on this. Very, very enjoyable. It's actually been really fun working with the Plutalopi. I haven't had any issues with it breaking on me, except for like a couple of times where, you know, I had it like flipped over and it got caught, or like a cat was sitting on it or something. But it's so super easy to split splice, so easy. So there's no weaving in ends. This is all seamless. Love it, love it. So I bought 5 of those. And then, you know, I had been a little bit disappointed that the only colors I was able to get at the small little farm shop was the black and the orange and the red. And I was like, just those together, like I need some more contrast. So I was like, I can buy 5 more plates to get up to a kilo. So I just got some neutrals. So I got some neutrals. I got 2 of this silvery white that's kind of heathered, because I thought that would mix very well with that black that has a little bit of white heather. An excellent contrast. And then they had these really nice browns and this more creamy oatmeal. You can see the difference there. And I was like, oh, these would go great together with something. I got a couple of these darker brown ones and one of the lighter brown ones. And like if I knit something just holding it single, like I could get a whole sweater out of that, I'm sure. Yeah, so I am stocked up on Plotalopi now. I am stocked up on yarn now. Yeah, I am not gonna need to buy yarn for years at this point. I think that's all my acquisitions. I think that's all. That's it. That's everything I bought. It's a lot, you guys. And then the trip was over. And I got home. I was so tired. I was like, oh, I can't wait to get home. I just want to be still. Because I had been, you know, going to a different city or a different country like every 3 days for like 3 weeks. It's a little bit intense. And I got home and I got just the worst news. The worst news. And I said, okay, I need to channel this energy. I'm going to spin. Because I've always found whenever I'm feeling particularly anxious that spinning works really well because you're using your feet and your hands and it's a whole kind of full body thing and there's a rhythm to it. I find it's more cathartic for that kind of acute anxiety than knitting is. Knitting's great to like chill out and relax, but if you're feeling like I could sit down and spin for 5 minutes and just kind of like get that energy out of me a little bit, like put it in at the twist, you know. Get that energy into the yarn and out of me. So I started spinning and I haven't stopped. So I've been back for a month and this is what I've done. I'm going to go through these quickly. This is leftover from fleece I still had. It's piece fleece from Harrisville Designs, or I bought it through Harrisville Designs. And yeah, it's woolen spun 3-ply. It's quite slubby. It's a Rambouillet and mohair mix. All US grown fiber, which was actually grown in the Four Corners region, which is quite close to me. So that's cool. And then I had to keep spinning. So then I spun this. And this is a super fun colorway. I think it's called Maud by Chameleon Fibers, if I remember that correctly. And it's just like all the best colors. And this was it in a bat or was it in a braid? I don't remember now. It was in a blended braid. Anyway, I just kind of picked the colors at random. 1-ply, I just kind of like pulled off and let all of the colors blend together within the ply. And then the other ply, I tried to keep the colors more distinct. I heard a crash and then the dog barked. I think it was a cat. Yeah, and then the second ply, I tried to keep the colors more separate as I was going, so they wouldn't mix together within the ply. They would be more distinct, and then plied those together, and this is what happened. It's very pretty. It's probably about a worsted weight. It's 100% merino. Super fun. Still anxious, so I kept spinning. Then I did this one. And this is from the dyer Komasi. I think that's her name, how you say it. It is 100% Falkland, I think. I don't recall the colorway name, but it's this really cool, like purpley, greeny, gray, muted, moody, swampy. And this is 2-ply, and I spun this. Did I do this as a fractal? I think I did this as a fractal spin. I did. But then after I was finished, I was like, yeah, these colors just all are so kind of close together and muted that I feel like the fractal didn't really come out so much. Do you know what I mean? But it's super pretty. I don't know what I'm going to do with any of these. Still anxious. So I kept spinning. This one I have not yet given a bath, but after this, and I was like, oh, I need like a something more dynamic to do a fractal spin with. I did this. Like, there's the dynamic. Oh, there was one more in there. Sorry, forgot about this. I did an art bat. And this is just like ridiculous and wild and honestly not really my thing. I'm glad to have tried it. But like, what am I going to use this for? It's just like, just not really my thing. Anyway, I just did this as a single ply and let it get all bulky and slubby, and there's little metallic bits and like silky bits and all sorts of crazy things in here. Yeah, so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to spinning finally because that's what I really like to do. So I said, let's do something that's more contrasty than this to do as a fractal spin. So I did this. And the colorway of this is Chaos. I don't recall the dyer name right now. I'll put it right there. I just finished plying this the other day. I haven't given it a bath yet, so you can still see there's some little curly cues coming out. But it's looking quite balanced. And yet the colorway is called Chaos, which is so true of what's happening. It's like little blips of static and very cool. Again, don't know what I'm gonna do with this. But yeah, I think I'm going through like a black yarn phase because there's a lot in here that is just like proper, just black yarn, you know, where the blacks meet up. It had really, really long color repeats. So yeah, this was super fun. Oh, hi, Santu. Do you want to come back outside? All right. Oh, hi, Kim. Everybody's coming. Everybody's coming. Yeah, and then still stressed out. I just finished plying this one this morning. I haven't taken it off the bobbin yet. And it's a shame because this is like a full gradient that goes from green to brown. The dyer is tea-fueled living? Tea-fueled dyeing? I can't. Sorry. And this was done as a bat. I decided, and the colorway was We Grew Up Overnight, which I just kind of love because it goes from the brown up to the green, like the tree growing up, plants growing up. So I wanted to keep the gradient consistent, so I did this as a 3-ply doing a chain ply, and I am really happy with how it has turned out. Oh my gosh. I'm just like so proud of myself. Like compared to this other chain ply, I mean, like this fiber is much more slubby and weird and woolly than this is, but they are both like woolen prep. And I did do this, I did this one as a long draw, and I did this as a short backward draw. So it is like, it's woolen prep, but worsted spun. But it feels so springy, which that's probably why, because it's a woolen prep, but worsted spun and has so much stretch to it. And this is a blend of merino, BFL, and silk. As I was doing it, I think the green is mostly merino, and there's a natural white silk, and then the BFL is the brown that's like hidden in the inside right now. And this I have an inkling to do as like the yoke of a sweater or something because it's got the gradient. I don't know. Still not done, y'all. Got a single. Just keeps going. This is another Kamasi dye. Oh, I don't remember the name either. I don't know that I actually have the names. But just gorgeous color combo. So pretty. It's just like all the beautiful spring colors. And this one I'm doing as a 2-ply, and I'm going end to end, but doing them opposite each other. So whenever they ply, one will start at one end of the color sequence and one will start at the other end of the color sequence. And they're all quite short color pops, which was similar to this one, which is why I think it muddied in the fractal, which is honestly, I mean, that's also a thing that you can go for, is like to get all the colors to blend together, as opposed to like this high contrast. This is going to be a lot more muted and soft like this. So yeah, I've got the first ply done on this. I just have to spin up the second one, which I'm sure I will start this afternoon, since I just finished my plying on that 3-ply over there. And yeah, I've got more fiber waiting in the wings to spin up, and I dyed up a bunch of fiber. Hello. So last weekend, I already talked about this, didn't I went and dyed yarn. Look at all this. Well, I didn't dye yarn, I dyed wool. So I'm actually out of yarn. I'm out of undyed yarn. I'm trying out some new bases, so I haven't ordered anything new yet. So all I had to do this demonstration that I was invited to was just raw wool. So that's what I used. So here we go. I'm just gonna go through these real quickly. This is all dyed with sagebrush. The bright yellow is just plain sage. This is with an alum mordant. The olive green down here is with an iron afterbath. This slightly different yellow at the top is with a copper afterbath. And then I have some orangey here in the middle, which was dyed with sage, and then I threw it into a Kota bath just to try and get some more color in it. And like, I don't know if these are, I just don't want to take everything out of the bags, you know? Yeah, so there we go. There's sagebrush. Red onion skin. I did this as a solar dye. And it's so funny, the red onion skin dye looks red, but the dye comes out green. Such a trip. I think it kind of looks like green apple, like the color. I'm just gonna keep like pulling things out. My undyed, that's all I had left. Okay. This is by Kota dye, which is this lovely, lovely orange. Very happy with how that turned out. Yeah. Kota is a wildflower that grows here along the roadside. It's also called Navajo tea. It is a medicinal plant as well. I've also heard it called Hopi tea. But it makes a beautiful orange dye. It is that time of year. I need to go and find some patches and harvest some. It doesn't grow at this elevation, which is a shame. So I have to drive to go and find it, and gas is so expensive these days. Keep going. Indigo, just indigo. I dunked that a few times. Sagebrush with indigo. It's this crazy sort of blue-green, almost sea-like color. Seaweed. Deep ocean, mossy. We're still going. Oh, here we go. Madder root. I did not prep my madder bath the way that I should have. It was very last minute and whatever. But I threw some stuff in there and got some madder dye. And then I put some madder dyed over indigo. And I'm really curious to see what this is going to do whenever I card it and the colors kind of blend together, because you can really kind of see the separate bits that are more madder and more gray. There's like reds and purples and things in there. I think that'll be really, really interesting once it's blended. So we'll have to see. And then I put some wool in one of the earth pigment buckets that they were making paint out of. just to see what would happen. I didn't put any heat on it or anything. It just soaked in it for a few hours. Pulled it out, rinsed it. It turned out kind of similar to madder, but not as pretty. Yeah, so that was just a random experiment. And then I had never worked with weld before, but the guy who is running the workshop has weld growing in his garden, and he cut a bunch and brought it in, and they were using it. They made some paints out of weld, and the plants that they had left over, I was like, I'll dye with it. And look at this yellow. Oh my God. Oh my God, so yellow. And weld is like historically one of the most light fast yellows. Anyway, this yellow is amazing. It's just like lemon sunshine yellow. Amazing. And with this kind of strong yellow, over dyed with indigo, holy shit, y'all. It's just like the green. Emerald green. It's amazing. Look at this. Look at this. My God. It's just like, it's unreal. It's so pretty. As soon as I took it out of the bath, I was just like, I turned around and I interrupted the girls who were talking behind me. I was like, would you look at this green? They were both just like, it's so good. So good. I love natural dyes so much. They look like they glow, I swear. In person, they glow. Y'all, that's everything. Holy moly. Oh, it's not everything. One more thing. Also, I had some solar dyes going at the workshop, and my last 3 sock skeins that I had, I went ahead and did a solar dyes. And look at them together. They're so pretty. So pretty. And like, oh my God, avocado as a solar dye, like that's what I'm doing from now on. Look at how clear and clean this pink is. It's amazing. It's not muddied out at all. So pretty. So pretty. This is from hollyhock flowers. It was a mixture of like kind of dark red hollyhocks and black hollyhocks. I didn't have a ton of dye material, but it's this really lovely sea foamy minty green, greeny blue. And then I had just a little bit of dried marigold and coreopsis and cosmos left over from last year, and I threw in a skein with that. And yeah, I have dyed yarn with marigold before, and you can get just like intense like oranges from that. But this was a solar dye, so it's weaker, and I did not have very much plant material. But it's still a really beautiful, like creamy yellow, and you get these wonderful little variations, tonal variations in the yarn. And I think these 3 together are just flipping gorgeous. Oh, love it. Love it. Yeah, you guys. So I've been dyeing up a storm. I'm really looking forward to the summer and working in my dye studio more, which I'm actually sitting in right now. My back porch is my dye studio. I've got my big water catchment back over there. I've got my pot sitting over here. You can see my mess of indoor storage, which I'm sorry you've had to look at the whole time. But there's like yarn hanging in there and buckets and dye stuffs, just stacks of things. So many things. Yeah, so I'm hoping to do a lot more dyeing this summer. Oh, the rain clouds are building. It's so good. It's gonna rain again. Yes. Pray for rain. That's everything, you guys. I have talked long enough. Yeah, I'll throw in some random extra pictures here at the end of whatever's beautiful. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for joining me again, or for the first time. I'll see you next time. Bye.